Welcome back to TV Guys. We're in the middle of January, and sure, it's cold outside, but hey, you could be locked in a freezer. I'm Matt.
I'm Brian.
And we are back to talk about the Bear. Why are we talking about the Bear? Because it's the middle of January, and speaking into the future, knowing for sure that the Chicago Bears are still going to be in the playoffs, still going to be alive in the middle of February or in the middle of January, and they're even going to the Super Bowl. We all know that that's true and that's happening, and is not just hopeful thinking on the part of this Bears fan, right?
Sure. I was going to say we're doing the Bear because it's what's on the schedule.
With my luck, like, we'll post this the day after, like, some heartbreaking Bear loss in the playoffs, and people will be like, "Oh, what a moron!"
It's kind of like I just finished rewatching or re-listening to an old Lost Rewatch podcast that started in 2019, like the end of 2019, and they're saying like, "Yeah, next year we're going to be going to all these public events," and I'm thinking, "No, you're not."
It's kind of like watching the New Girl episode about the 2016 election, where it is so clear and obvious that no one behind that show had any belief that Trump was going to win the election.
Yeah.
Like, it was a foregone conclusion Hillary was going to win that election. And then it goes the other way, and it's like it's a weird time capsule to watch in that regard.
Very much so. So Matt, do you like the Bear?
I was gonna make a joke about how we're gonna hear Brian about his hate watch of the Bear, because first and second season were good, and Brian, you'd probably even agree that the second season is its best season, right?
I think so. It's been a while because it's been a while since I watched the first two seasons. Since we did that podcast about it like 2 years ago.
Yeah, the first season I think was a little stressful for you, but the second one, even though it had its stressors, still was pretty good television, and you started to come around to it. And then third season came in, and I know we've given crap to these shows where it's like, let's do half a season at once, like Squid Game, the most recent one. But literally, Bear season 3 and Bear season 4 are one season. It was so obvious that they didn't have a full plan for all of season 3, and they stretched out half a season, and even its cliffhanger sucked.
It's a good thing we're doing both seasons because I hate season 3.
Yes.
And overall it's a good show, but even season 4, it's a good show, but I don't really enjoy watching it, and I'll probably never watch it again.
There's still some good things about season 3 that I'll hit on, but I overall agree. Like, I felt no compulsion to talk about it, like how I felt the compulsion to talk about season 1 and 2, because those were ones I was like, guys, you have to watch this show. It's so good. You get to the end of season 2, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited for what's gonna happen. And then season 3 comes, and season 3, the writers and producers were so like, you have to almost admire the level of confidence these writers had to be like, I know you're interested to see how everything resolves with the freezer situation, and Carmy and Richie, and Claire walked out. Oh, and Marcus got this call about his mom, and she's probably dead. By the way, let's do a flashback episode. And season 3 has like minimal dialogue and just shows like the history of Carmy's food journey.
Yeah.
And like, how many shots of beautiful food. Like, sure, it's great cinematography and has a killer score, but it was so art house. I was like, really? This is your premiere?
Mm-hmm.
And then just like that slow pace. It was a weird slow pace, because I think the second episode was like them all like talking about their non-negotiables, and then the third episode was like a month and a half of time, all like that Doors episode, where they just like are jumping through that month and a half of like their first 90 days or 60 days open or whatever. And it's like, can you guys pick a pace, please? What are you doing?
Season 4 started with a flashback as well with Mikey.
Was the whole episode a flashback, or was it just early on in that episode?
I believe it was the whole episode.
Okay.
And while we're on the subject of flashback, there was the whole Tina episode about her backstory. I must have completely forgotten that she had a husband at home. I thought for sure that she was like a single mom.
I think they referenced it, but very like it
Yeah.
passerby referencing, you know.
And so in the flashback, I thought we were revealing a new character. And the whole episode, I was like, okay, he's either going to leave her or he's going to die. And I'm like, okay, I think he's going to leave. No, I think he's going to die. No, I think he's going to leave her. And then at the end, neither happened. I'm like, okay, so she just has a husband? Where did that come from?
That was probably one of the better episodes of season 3, Napkins, and you could tell that was what they thought, like in season 2, what they thought Forks was. That they did that for season 3. That they thought that it would do for Tina what season 2 Forks episode did for Richie, which Forks is the absolute hands down best episode of The Bear without a doubt. I will hear no other arguments on that.
I'd have to rewatch it.
That's the one where Richie goes and stages forever. Yeah. And like just his journey in that episode was wonderful and amazing. You're like, yes, finally this guy like gets it and he actually wants to do good things with his life. For me, watching a character who is just aimless and struggling with purpose and lashing out at other people, to see him say like, no, I want to actively be a better person. And being a better person for him was showing love and appreciation to the customers and to make their experiences better. I think that that's an amazing thing. And anytime I see a character realize how to make other people's lives better when they've just been this insufferable crab for 2 seasons or a season and a half, I'm going to cheer for it. So they did that really well. But Napkins wasn't on the same level as Forks, but it still was probably the best episode of season 3.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. And I mean, and once she goes to the bear, you know what's going to happen. You know, you can see it, but it's still fun to see it unfold.
Yeah, and I think the reason why it wasn't quite as good as Forks was because it kind of said the same thing that we've already been shown with Tina, that we did understand how much she cared about the bear and how much she cared about Mikey. Yeah. And but getting to see that actual like, oh, this is what the bear means for this was her life got saved by the bear, by the not the bear, the beef giving her another chance and making room for her when she had just been thrown away by what I can't remember what the other job it was, but just like let her off and you know she was struggling. She got thrown away by the system and she was left without any purpose. Again, that's that word coming back.
Yeah.
And so she's able to come back to the beef and find people who cared. And Richie actually wasn't a monster. You know, he gives her a free sandwich. Yeah. And so, like, you can see why she cared so much and why she fought tooth and nail in that first season against the changes that Carmy and Sid were bringing.
Oh, absolutely. And, like, everyone in that kitchen plays a part. You know, even the facts. They're like the utility players.
All right. Speaking of the facts, one of the big complaints that I do agree with for season 3 was that there's too much facts in season 3.
I think so. I mean, you probably guessed that I wanted to love them as much as you probably think I do. I think if there was a little bit less of them, I would.
Yeah, I think the perfect usage of them was in Fishes, where because they had the 2 facts and John Mulaney.
Yeah.
And their interactions were fantastic because you had John Mulaney grounding you, and he was being sarcastic to them, but it was a sarcastic commentary on the ridiculousness of the facts. And John Mulaney pulls that off really, really well, and that allowed the facts to be the ridiculousness they were. The counterexample of that is like when John Cena comes in and you get 3 of them that are almost topping each other in ridiculousness. Yeah. Like, no, this doesn't work.
That was the whole haunting thing. I mean, you're right. There's too much energy.
Yeah.
And I also didn't love that. I mean, I get it, but how everyone basically just blatantly treating them like dumb children, and like Natalie being like, "Hey, babe, what's going on?" And as in like the child version of Babe, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, they're adults. They're not the brightest, but you're treating them like they're like 6-year-old child.
That's a fair complaint. For me, I've seen that online too, and people had the same thing. I didn't mind that one as much. It was almost a little funny to me, but you're right. You're right in terms of real life. That's stupid.
Mhm.
And I think what I liked more is when what's the main one, Maddie Matheson or whatever his character's name, Neil.
Neil, yes.
Neil. So I like it more on the other side when Neil would pretty much like treat Sugar like his mom and like
Yeah.
tattle to her and stuff like that. To me, that's a little bit more funnier than her like, oh babe.
Like, I could never be mad at you. I called Francie. Get out of here.
See, Francie Fack was an all right casting. That was the I don't want to say the anti John Cena, but it was a better addition to the Fack lore than John Cena was.
Yeah. So, I'm just based on how you're talking. Is Richie your favorite character?
I would have never seen it coming, but he definitely was. And I in season 3 and 4, though, I do like the arc of Ibrahim. Ibrahim
Yes.
is like the GOAT. He's the guy for season 3 and 4. And part of the plot agrees with that because he is the only thing that is working about the bear in seasons 3 and 4. Before we talk a little bit more about him, your name, this is recent for us. Rob Reiner just passed away. I mean, let's be honest. Rob Reiner was just murdered a couple weeks ago. So rest in peace, Rob Reiner. You didn't deserve it. That sucks. He was a great filmmaker and a fun actor.
We had the idea to do like let's quickly talk about all the celebrities who've passed away in our best of 2025, but that episode ran way long, and I was like, we don't have time for this.
Yeah,
because I wanted to mention him and Malcolm Jamal Warner, but yeah, Rob Reiner. I mean, that was shocking. I mean,
yeah. And last year too. I know you don't watch The Wire, but last year we lost 2 characters from The Wire, and one of them was committed suicide, sadly. And then the other one was I can't remember his name, the older black gentleman who was in Cocaine Bear, but he's famous for his exclamation of "she."
That's like, what started that.
His line. What?
That's what started that.
Yes, from The Wire. I think he started. He was the one that was really infamous for and tied to that. And like he did, if he didn't start it, he did it better than anyone else.
Okay, because like when Charlie was in junior high, he did that all the time, and it really has annoyed me.
Yeah, he died right before New Year's on December 30th. So that's for us. That's fresh. That just happened.
Yeah, very fresh.
All right. Well, there are a lot of other people that died. Sad.
Yeah.
That sounds callous, but I mean,
but we don't have time to do a full episode on every single person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So back to Ibrahim, because this is the arc that I think worked the best, and and because Rob Reiner died, he was. So his character was trying to push Ibrahim to franchise his own beef restaurant because the window was doing well and he was smart in what he was doing and had a really good system in place. And Reiner's character, do you remember what Rob Reiner's character name was?
I don't.
But he was a good character because, and I don't know if they resolved. I can't remember if they resolved if he was for sure on the level. But you had this.
I think he was. Yeah.
He easily could.
Yeah.
Be taking Ibrahim for a ride. Or he could be an honest guy.
I thought he was going to be like a villain at first.
Yeah. I can't remember exactly how it ended. Did they resolve that yet? Or is that still kind of up in the air whether it would be?
Well, I mean, I'm sure they'll touch on it. I think he's on the level because of the conversation he had with Computer. And by the way, if you haven't watched, Computer is a person who's like the math whiz and they just call him Computer.
Yeah. Not like a sci-fi, not like Star Trek where it's like computer.
Yeah, not like that. So he looked at the numbers, and Computer said the same thing that Rob Reiner had been saying. Like, to make this successful, you'd have to open more than one franchise. And they had the same conversation they just had. And we know that he's on the level because he was brought in and was close with Cicero.
Yeah.
And so kind of them acknowledging, it's like a second point of information clarification from someone we already trust that what he says is true.
Yeah. By the way, Cicero doesn't have arcs, but he is another one of my favorite characters.
He's my
I
favorite.
I disclude him because he's just hilarious and he doesn't really do growth, but he's a fun. Oliver Platt is just fantastic, and I really appreciate the biting sarcasm he has in the scenes he's in.
Well, so before we shift gears, do you have anything else to say about Ibrahim and the Rob Reiner plot?
Um, so do we recast Rob Reiner? Because like talking about that, is he on the level? Is he not? Rob Reiner had that personality that easily could have gone either way, and
Yeah.
it's hard to play both of those simultaneously. And so whoever they're going to replace Rob Reiner with, or are they just be like, okay, he's going to be the silent partner in the background. You know what he looks like. We obviously can't have him for
Yeah.
obvious reasons. So he anything you hear from him is going to be over the phone or background or whatever. Or do they recast? You know, how do they go with that?
I think because of the manner in which Rob Reiner died, I think out of respect they're not going to recast him, and I think if they had the chance, they would have definitely had him be a part of season 5.
Oh, 100%.
And I think it's going to be like what you said. I think they're going to mention him, and maybe occasionally mention, oh yeah, whatever his character's name is, said this. But I think they're just going to keep him an unseen character in the background going forward. That would be my guess.
Yep, and that makes sense. But what sucks about that is that he was the one who saw Ibrahim. Like when you watch season 3 and it flashes to Ibrahim, he is struggling. Like he's trying to stay, like he's still being successful, but no one sees him because everyone else is so concerned and busy with their own things, you know. And so he's just in the back, like you see a couple of times where it's like he's the one who makes the sandwiches, sells the sandwiches, gives them out. Like he is responsible for every single side of this, and no one considers him. And so when they're like, "Hey, Ibrahim, you should get this training," whatever, it's like, "No, I don't want to do that. I like what I'm doing." And like, so they just have this foregone conclusion that obviously Ibrahim's going to want to be part of the main show of what they're doing, and he doesn't want, but he does need help.
Exactly, and I want them to focus more on him next time.
Yeah, and so Rob Reiner was that help, even though he wasn't going to work in the kitchen. He was the one who saw him and believed in him and was inspiring him. And Ibrahim didn't have someone doing that outside of Rob Reiner. So we do need a replacement of that, even if they're not going to recast him. That and a little bit of like Cicero is hilarious. I thought maybe Cicero would be that business side of him, but I don't know if Cicero has that like get up and go, I believe in you sort of attitude that Reiner could bring.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly how they're going to do that because that needs to be brought out. We need to see Ibrahim rise to the occasion.
We could see the computer step into that role as well.
Yeah. He's not social. He's not emotional. He's like, for all intents and purposes, he is a computer.
Yeah.
He's the logical numbers. He like, you know, this is a real person. You'd probably put him on the spectrum where it's like numbers make sense. Numbers are the comfort to him, not the social cues, you know?
I like his interaction with Rob Reiner. You got a nickname? Yeah. I'm not going to tell you. I respect that. It's so random.
I wish I had a collection of like, if I watched season 4 and season 3 a while ago, if I was able to rewatch them in time for this, because I did some recaps and looked up some other stuff and stuff that I remember. If I had the time to rewatch it, I would have collected a series of quotes and I would have peppered in some of these great quotes because there are some hilarious lines. One of the only ones I can think of is when Carmy is talking about Orwellian butter to Cicero. It's like, what is this, dystopian butter? He's like, no, Orwell, Virginia, or wherever it was, or Maryland, whatever.
That's the perfect segue into why Cicero is my favorite character, is because he was the voice of reason. He was the voice of what I was thinking. Okay, I get it. You are a good chef. You're a great chef. You make all this fancy crap. I don't want to eat somewhere that fancy. And really, like, do you need to spend like what they said, like $4,000 on butter or whatever? Like,
yep.
Yeah. Why? Maybe I'm sure it has some qualities, but I feel like Carmy is that pretentious. Was like, I need the top line of everything, no matter how much it costs. And meanwhile, the place is drowning. He's telling them, I have money in this place. It has to make money. You need to stop spending money on every little thing. And Carmen's like, yeah, I hear you. But we're going to change the menu every night. We're going to do this. And then we're going to have an extra plate on the table that doesn't serve any purpose. Is that a real thing?
I mean, probably, but that's such a good point, because I did want to bring it to Carmy. I want to talk about how insufferable Carmy is. And the reason why he's insufferable is because he can't let himself be happy. It's hard to watch someone who is actively self-destructing, and when you put them into a leadership role and other people's lives are in their hands, it's even harder to watch.
Exactly.
Season 3 and season 4 was that arc, and season 3 was more of that arc of destruction, because we had that these are the non-negotiables, and it was such an insecure move, because it was overcompensating for Carmy letting himself lose some of the attention to detail, because he was letting himself be happy with Claire, and he lost some of that like obsessiveness, which is actually a good thing for, in terms of a personality. It's good to care about details, but to obsess over them is an issue. And so losing some of the obsessiveness because you're someone that made you feel comfortable and made you feel okay, he viewed that as a bad thing and completely turned around and said, no, this was such I wound up in a freezer. I'm never going to let that happen again. And so he overcompensates with these details. But I mean, if you notice, even in that one, I can't remember what word it was, like when they're having that talk about that very first talk about the non-negotiables, he's writing all these down. He's making these spelling mistakes. And he's like, this guy who's so attention to detail, everything has to be perfect. It's so indicative that like he's still making these mistakes in talking about how perfect things have to be, because he knows that the details helped him out in cooking, but doesn't understand the heart behind the details. So he's just going back to obsession instead of actual doing it, like the reason he's doing it in the first place, you know?
Exactly. And you're right. It really does bring you down his psychotic mindset of self-destruction.
Yeah. And that's why season 4, you like him a little bit more, but you're still sad for him, because thankfully he had some closure with Chef Winger at the end of season 3.
Oh, that's a great name for him. You just come up with that?
No, I saw it online. I'm like, but that's great.
That is.
Before they knew that he was like, I think it's David. Chef David is Joel McHale's character.
To be clear, for those who don't know, Joel McHale played Jeff Winger on Community, so we just changed it to Chef Winger.
And I will only refer to him as that for the rest of the episode. But he had this heart-to-heart with Chef Winger, where he was able to confront his demons, and Winger never apologized. He never was like, oh, I'm so sorry. He kind of doubled down on it, but also was like, that's just what you do. That's who you, like, that's part of the job. That's part of the gig. And it was like holding up a mirror for Carmen, like, oh, this is who I don't want to be. So then he was able to fix that, and the bad review was able to fix it and own up, like, okay, I was the problem. Let me try and help fix it. And then in doing so, he's realizing in season 4, all through the season, he lost the joy of cooking, because what cooking had done for him was it allowed him therapy. And that was how he was self-medicating from all the things going on in his life. And when he lost that, now he's losing, like, well, what can make me happy? What do I actually want in life? And I think that was a much better arc for him than watching him tailspin in season 3.
Oh, I agree completely. And it comes to, I've heard this thing about so many people today are focused on like all of your hobbies, you need to monetize them, make money off of everything. I think it's good to have something you enjoy doing that's strictly just a hobby, because then it's an outlet and you're not focused on, I have to do it a certain way to make money.
Yeah.
Which I think for us is kind of like this podcast.
Exactly. And I think actually Luca's a really good foil for him. Will Poulter's character, if those who don't remember.
Yeah.
Because we see him a little bit more in season 3 and 4 at different times. And like when we first meet Will Poulter, when Marcus goes to Amsterdam in season 2, or Copenhagen, which I think is in Amsterdam, he's in the kitchen with him, and Luca is telling him this story about the best chef he's ever worked with, and he's like, I couldn't keep up with him. I knew I couldn't keep up with him. And we actually get to see that in season 3 in the flashbacks. We get to see like when they're doing the peas or whatever that Carmy has like 3 times the amount of peas in his bucket. He's moving at 3 times the speed Luca is. And I think we see how that ends up being freeing for Luca, that he's like, oh, I can't compete with this guy. So instead of measuring myself always against someone else, I'm going to try and do the best that I can do. And he's so much more at peace as a chef than Carmy is, because he was able to be like, I'm not the best, and I'm okay with that. And because of that, it frees him up to enjoy what he does.
Yeah, and that's like also a good example of they set things up. A lot of times they set something up early on, and it pays off. Like with Tina, really obsessing over getting the pasta timing right, and then she finally gets it. Or and as soon as that episode happened, I knew what was going to happen when the whole season, Natalie's like, did you call mom? Did you call mom? Did you call mom? And she's not calling her mom. And then she goes into labor and she calls everybody, every other character. No one answers. Call mom.
And I think that's part of the non-negotiables, I believe, was everyone's cell phone is in their locker. And so
it makes sense, yeah.
It's just another part of this. I think that what the Bear does the best is it does these stand-ins for the restaurant itself, being a stand-in for their mental issues. And so when they're not working together well in that episode Doors and all the plates are smashing, it's a really good way of showing, hey, they're fracturing in their psyches. And so to have that be the case with Sugar, that she can't get a hold of them, is that they're also consumed by their own things, that they don't have the capacity to care for Sugar the way that she deserves to have family care for her.
Exactly. And it really did. And it also showed us who was what basically like her pecking order of who she would want to call. Because I mean, she starts with Pete. I think Sydney is number 2, even above Carmy and Richie.
I mean, I
don't blame her. I mean,
blame her? Yeah.
No.
Words were hard just then.
But I got it.
I was like the Tim Allen Swedish chef there.
I don't know if I've ever heard that combination.
Another funny thing with that, and I don't know if it was in that episode, but it was in that season, when Carmy tries to call Pete, in his phone, Pete's name is still saved as like Sugar's boyfriend, parentheses, maybe Pete, ? It's like, sure, okay, how many of you guys have been lazy and like the first person you put in your phone is like, Brian from church, like you never go back once you learn their last name, like I'm going to edit my address book, obviously, but at the same time there's a little bit where it speaks to how he views Pete, because Pete's a bro, but no one gives him the time of day.
Exactly. Well, and it might have just he doesn't ever need to contact him, so he doesn't need to change that.
Yeah.
Like you and I do all of our communication through Facebook messaging. I have your number. I rarely use it.
No, why would you? I actually have you blocked, so.
That's what. So I've been texting you daily, so you haven't been getting those.
Well, I got the first like 5 pictures. I'm like, that's 5 too many pictures of Brian without a shirt on, so I just started blocking.
Before you took the joke in that direction, I was gonna say, but did you know which toes each of those 5 pictures were?
That's also a good one. Well done. We both of us went to the creepy, so that's our relationship here.
It's where you got to go. I think back to the show. I think they didn't do enough with Marcus, and because Marcus is a great character, everybody loves him, but he's kind of just sidelined both of the seasons.
Yeah, I expected a little bit more in season 3. Like when he first comes back into the restaurant and he's like, all right, take us there, Bear. And he's ready to go. I think him burying himself in the restaurant is a good choice, but it doesn't blow up in the catharsis that I was waiting for. because you can only shove down those feelings for so long. And I think where like Carmy will bury himself in the perfectionism of the bear and like what he's doing. I would have loved to see Marcus do a similar thing, but to be a little bit of a foil in that as well, and that they're both doing this, and now someone like Sid has to manage two different people in the kitchen that are both ignoring their feelings and are working out of pain.
Yeah.
So there was a lot more to do with Marcus. I agree completely.
Mhm.
You had said that you guessed my favorite character is Richie, of like that main group, because again, there's some great side characters. I love Pete. I love Cicero.
Yeah.
Who do you think is your top character?
Natalie.
Now, yeah, she's great. I like Natalie.
It was Sydney, okay, but I was so annoyed with Sydney, for reasons. But before that, the reason I go back to Natalie is kind of for the same reasons as Cicero. I think because she was the business side of it. She wasn't in the kitchen, in the trenches. She got to be more of a level head. I mean, granted, she has her own demons as well, her stuff with her mom, and everything. But I think I could really, it's like we were allowed to like her because she wasn't being insane.
And it's hard to hate someone who both has a level head, but whose biggest flaw is just wanting people to get along and wanting to help others and bridge more connections. Sure, maybe she hates Francine Fact for reasons we don't completely understand, but she really does care about all the people there and wants the best for them and wants them to be their best selves, and maybe doesn't always know how to be a good sister or friend in helping them get there, but she has good intentions.
And when you talk about wanting people to get along, so this is one of the biggest, probably the biggest thing I hate about this show. And I get that it can be like artistic and realistic and gritty, but they do it so much where everyone's like screaming over each other at the same time. No one's letting each other finish. Like, I'm starting to sentence, I'm going to cut you off. I don't want to hear what you have to say. And like, if you talk one at a time, let each other finish your sentences, you could maybe get everything out. And the whole like, no, you stop talking. I don't want to hear what you have to say. I know there's tension between us, but we have to stop talking right now and let it fester for 7 more episodes. I hate that. Just talk. Have a conversation. You don't have to like each other, but you like the whole constant interrupting each other and yelling at each other. And like you say one thing and someone blows up at you, like Richie and Carmy, and they do that the most. It just, I can't stand it. And like, there's so many times I almost turned off the TV. I'm like, okay, I have to go do something before I come back. And I get it can be artistic, but they do it so much.
But we're Midwesterners. And I know Chicago is in the Midwest, but urban Chicago is a completely different animal than the Minnesota nice that you and I are used to. And so talking over people and layering like that, I do get what you're saying. And that is a point of like, yeah, that's the idea. That's the reason. The writers are very intentional about that. But I do feel like that's a Chicago thing. I feel like it is these boisterous type people sort of thing where it's like, I'm going to talk more than I'm going to listen. And everyone is just yelling and nothing gets solved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah.
But as it is, like, speaking of it as Chicago thing, it does feel, that's one thing I do also really like about this show is, even though I'm not from Chicago and I've been to Chicago once, I really appreciate the love letter that it is to Chicago. It is very, very inspired by real life Chicago people and a restaurant there. I believe that there's an actual Chicago beef that, or Italian beef restaurant, whatever, that the showrunners are basing everything off of. Completely different characters, but was the inspiration.
So Matt, have I ever told you my crazy Chicago story at the train station from years ago?
Does it end with you finding Bill Murray in a bar at like 5 a.m?
No, that was San Francisco. This is Chicago.
Okay.
No, so 2011, me and my roommate Dustin in college, we took the mega bus to Chicago just for a day, just for the heck of it. And we had fun. We went around, we did the Sears Tower and all that. And we're waiting for the mega bus at the train station. And it's like 9:30 at night, something like that. And we're just waiting there. We're tired. And then out of nowhere, these people walk by us with a huge, big cardboard box. They reach into it as if it's a parade, and they throw condoms at everybody, saying, "Be safe, everybody," and they walk away. That's my experience of Chicago.
Have you ever, speaking of Chicago experiences, have you ever heard about the Dave Matthews bus incident in Chicago?
No, but tell me more.
All right, so back, was this 20 years ago? A Dave Matthews bus, tour bus, dumped the human waste remains from its like tank into like off of one of the bridges into the Chicago River. But you know how there's river tours
I
that
don't
go
like
through
this
that
story.
Chicago River? There was a sightseeing boat, open top, that got 800 pounds of excrement dumped on top of it as it passed underneath this bridge. And like that that incident became infamous for obvious reasons, but it's like, how awful would that be to be on that freaking boat?
I didn't need to know that story. That sounds like something that would be in a Judd Apatow movie.
Now, obviously, I don't think any blame goes on the Dave Matthews Band themselves. It was that their driver was the one who decided to do that. But, oh, man.
I feel like you have to. There's like specific places where you're supposed to dump that, right?
I do too. I don't know the details of it, but not there.
But okay, even without the bus, without the boat, you're not supposed to dump it in the river. I don't think.
I think there's a documentary crew that's trying to make a movie about it, and they're going to call it The Crappening, which is just a fantastic title. No notes.
I'm realizing this is too funny to not leave in, so I'm not going to cut this out. So listeners, I'm sorry.
No, this is, people need to know. I know this doesn't have to do anything with the bear, but you know what? Our tangents are gold, and there's a reason people listen to us, and it's for stuff like this. You're welcome, everyone.
This is the crappiest tangent we've ever had.
I don't know if there's more stuff that we have to talk. Oh, there is.
I got more stuff. Yeah, you go first.
One thing for sure. In the season 4, they had the wedding episode. By the way, we haven't even talked about Josh Hartnett yet, because Josh Hartnett is fantastic. It's like, oh wait, hey, you're in this and you're great. And I did like to see how Richie was able to handle Tiffany being with Josh Hartnett's character and marrying him. And like after that first time, I think that we meet Josh Hartnett's character, and then Richie goes back in the car and then takes off his wedding ring finally. It's like, that is so sad, but good for him, because, you know, he needed to let that go and know that part of his life is over, to free him up for is it Jessica? Is that the girl from Ever?
I think so. You're talking about Sarah Ramos, right?
Yeah, from Parenthood.
That's what it's from. I knew she was from something. Thank you.
Haha, helped you.
I mean, and that's okay. I am terrible at picking up like if characters are into each other without it, if it's not explicit. But it was very clear. Like I was expecting one of them to just would reach for each and make out for the other one at any moment.
I mean, they did behind closed doors.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's not true. So that wedding episode, I have to say though, I saw someone describe it the perfect way, because I remember watching it and feeling this way. When you're watching an episode with all of the what is their last name? Bernzado?
The Berzados.
When you're watching all these Berzados and Facts in one place in this social gathering, you're like, well, something's going to happen. And someone described this episode as the anti-fishes. I'm like, that is 100% what it is.
Oh, it is, for sure.
Look where they've all come, or how far they've come, and they're not as toxic. Sure, they have problems, but they're not toxic in the same way. No one's blowing up and destroying this poor girl and guy's wedding They're all there, and then they all shove under the table that is the biggest freaking TARDIS table I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And then they all got outside of the table, and it's like this just tiny little thing. Like, no, this is a different table that you guys are all just under 5 seconds ago.
Exactly. But I think maybe the fact that it was all centered around is Sophie, is that her name? Is that Richie's daughter's name?
I can't remember. That sounds right, but
okay.
I don't know for
Well,
sure.
I'll just say Richie's daughter just to not say the wrong name. But it was focusing on her, and I feel like they're not going to have like a screaming match like in front of a little girl who's scared to dance. And I love how it was the easiest thing, just like, okay, you're scared to dance, then don't dance, and nobody pushed it, which was good.
Yeah, exactly. Ava is EVA.
Ah, well, where does Sophie come from? Is somebody named Sophie on the show, or am I making that up?
I don't know. Sophie the bear. Let's see. Sophie. Oh, is that what's their name's daughter? Sugar's daughter?
Maybe that's it. I'm not crazy.
Because one of the episodes is named Sophie in season 4, and I believe it's because that is the name of the daughter.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that, like, you're right. That was a really good time, and it was a nice time with Claire and Carmy too, where, refresh my memory because it's been a while since I watched this. I know that in this season, Carmy had to own up to what he did with Claire and just ghosted her for as long as he did and yelled at her and all that and said the things he said in the freezer and tried to own up to it. And then she's like, I know that I forgive you. I know that what you said, what you were hurting, but that doesn't mean we're going to be together.
Yeah.
Did that change by the end of the season? I can't remember if they changed that at all by the time it was done.
I don't think so. I think they left I think they left it where they could have them get back together if they want, because there's a thing where she told him about, like, oh, I lost my green sweater at your mom's house, and then he found the sweater at his mom's house. I don't think they're officially reconciled, but I think if they want to go that way in season 5, they could. I kind of hope they don't. I kind of hope they leave it as it is.
I could see them going either way, and I could see myself rooting for either one, because as of where Carmy was in season 4, just saying, hey, I'm sorry, wasn't enough. He still has the things he needs to work on, and so that's why it's going to be good to see in season 5, going to be interesting to see, because I don't feel like, before we were in this episode, you asked if you think they're going to get Jeremy Allen White out of the show, and he's becoming a bigger actor, so maybe. But I think him leaving the bear doesn't mean he's leaving the show. I think we're going to have a B plot or A plot or whatever following him as he goes through this journey of self-discovery, because that's what makes sense for him as a character. Because he's at a point where he doesn't know who he is right now, and he needs to rediscover who he is. And maybe that means going back to the bear, but also maybe it means not doing that. And so if he's able to get to a point when he is a person that can handle his own emotional issues, then yeah, maybe there is room for Claire back in his life.
Yeah, true.
So not that he's going to work on that for her, he needs to work on it for him.
Yeah.
But once you work on it for yourself and you get to that stage, you're more attractive, let's be honest.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. So I mentioned earlier about my annoyance with Sydney.
Yep.
Okay, you really took almost 2 full seasons to decide if you're going to leave or not. I get it. It was a hard decision, but it was like, okay, come on. I mean, how long are we going to drag this out? And stringing everybody along, stringing along the guy who's wanting to work with him, stringing along everybody at the bear, who's like just assuming that she's part of the team. And that, I feel like I get it. It wasn't like a 1 episode thing. I feel like it shouldn't have been like almost the entire 2 seasons combined kind of thing.
Yeah. And that was the same problem with Claire and Carmy. And
yeah.
You should call her all through season 3. The same problem with what's going on in the restaurant and, oh, what's this review? And there's issues like that. That just goes back to the same problem that season 3 and season 4 are the same season, just broken up by a year difference.
Yeah.
But with that signature agreement, that was frustrating of her dragging her heels. And you can say, oh, she didn't know what she wanted. That's fine. That's understandable. But then Shapiro comes along, offers her this thing, and guess what? It's the same thing. It's the same problem you have with Carmy. And it's this guy who. So this was the same guy who chewed people out in that episode of Forks. Is like, why are there smudges on the dishes? And then you see in his restaurant or when he's dealing with dishes, he's the one making these smudges. It was this tiny little thing that they did, and this guy's blaming the entire rest of the staff for an issue he created and didn't take accountability for. And when Sid turns him down, we see him respond in a very nasty way.
Yeah,
it's like,
which
well, clearly you made the right choice. And even before that,
yeah,
he's talking to her as like I don't understand black culture, but because you're black, you'd like let's do like a more reggae dish, or it's like you're just saying what she wants to hear
yeah,
in a way that's a microaggression sort of way. You don't see her, and Carmy sees her, even though Carmy has a ton of problems.
yeah. So there's the episode where she is talking to her. Is that her niece?
I can't remember. I believe it. Are you talking about the one she directed? Gosh, I forget how to pronounce her last name. Edibiri.
But yeah, the girl when she's going to the girl, and she used the analogy of the slumber parties. And yep. I thought it was very clear in that. And I thought so she was explaining it like slumber party 1 is it can be chaotic and hard, but when it's good, it's so good. And party number 2 is like, it's got all the new cool stuff and it sounds awesome. And of course the girl's like, well, take number 2. That sounds awesome. And what I thought the realization should be, and I thought someone was going to say that, is like, in this analogy, party 1 versus party 2 being the bear or the new restaurant, that on paper, it's so clear, like not even a question that you should go to number 2. And if it's so clear on paper that you should go with number 2, but there's still even a question in your mind about number 1, that shows you that there's something special unspoken about number 1 if you're even considering it based on against this great other thing. And I thought that would be her awakening, like, hey, if I'm still thinking about this, it probably means that that's where I should go. And then no one said that.
Yeah. I've always done that sort of thing where, like, if someone says, hey, should I do this or this? I don't specifically, even if I don't care about it, I will still try and give them an answer, because what that typically does is then it confirms for the other person, okay, I do actually want that. Because if they're saying, okay, do option number 1, like, okay, I'm going to commit to option number 1. What's your reaction to committing to option number 1? Are you relieved that you're going to commit to that? Or are you panicked like, oh, crap, I have to do option number 1? And then you judge that feeling, and then you'll know what you actually want.
Yeah, that's what Rolf said to Kermit in the 2015 series.
You let me say all of those words just to undercut it with Rolf the Kermit comment.
No, but it was the same thing. It was like, if you flip a coin, and if you're happy about the result or sad about the result, that tells you. It's not about the coin itself. Just like it's not about your answer itself. It's about you give an answer, and are they happy or not happy about your answer.
What do you want to do? I want to break up with Jan. I want to break up with Jan. Okay.
Yeah. See? A lot of options. Just because it came from a puppet dog doesn't mean it's wrong.
Why is a puppet dog breaking up with Jan? I didn't feel like I needed to clarify that that's from The Office, but maybe I did. I don't know. If you're listening to our episodes and you don't watch The Office, I'm wondering how you get through our episodes, because we talk, like, I think maybe we mention Muppets more than anything else, but not for very long. But we talk about The Office for more amount of content than I think any other show.
I think it's The Office, because I will often think about Muppet references, and sometimes I'll censor them and not mention them. I will rarely do that with The Office because of how much of an Office-centered podcast this is.
Yeah. Yeah, we have Office-related tangents quite often. Ergo, this one. I don't know if I used ergo correctly just then. All right. Anything else? again, Richie and Jessica is like, that's the relationship I'm most excited for. And like, yes, go for that one. That is just, both of you guys are killing it. And like, they have such mutual respect for each other. I really enjoyed seeing the Ever staff show back up in season 4,
Mm-hmm.
even if it's like, how are they paying all these people?
Yeah, I have that question too. Like, I'm sure they're if it was like a one-time thing, maybe it was a volunteer, but they're there every day. They're getting paid.
Yeah. Like they did say Luca is a stage and that doesn't get paid. So they had the one guy like, okay, we for sure aren't paying him. But not all the other ones are stages. So I don't get it.
I don't get the financial rules of this bar or this restaurant, but I'm sure that it annoys Cicero and Computer.
Computer, get in here. Explain this to me. But I want more Cicero. Okay, final question before we move into trivia. One of the big contention points with this show when it comes to the Golden Globes is that it competes in the comedy category versus the drama category.
That's wrong. It's absolutely a drama. It's a drama that has some comedic moments, but there's no world in the where I would consider this a comedy.
Agreed. I feel the same way because like there are other shows, and this show, even though they're very different, gets compared to Succession a lot. And I know that you haven't watched Succession, but Succession has a lot of humor in it. It has a lot of funny things and a lot of ridiculous stuff, but that still is very much a drama. And I think that The Bear is probably as funny as Succession is. And I would also consider, of course, The Bear a drama. There is plenty of lighthearted moments, plenty of funny stuff, even outside of just the facts, but it's a drama.
Also, so earlier today, I was listening to an old Muppet podcast. This was from 2022, this episode, right?
And no, go ahead.
Yeah. This isn't about the Muppets, but at the end of it, they always say, what non-Muppet things did you watch this week? And they were talking about, at the time, season 2 of The Bear. And the host said this. He said, it kind of reminds me of, what's it called? The British soccer show, Ted Lasso. And he was saying that it's about, both times are about this dysfunctional group trying to put a team together, whether it's a soccer team or a restaurant. And I kind of see it being somewhat compared to Ted Lasso, although Ted Lasso would be much closer to a comedy.
Yeah, the phrase of this younger generation is vibes, and they both have very different vibes, 100%.
Yeah, but
they're giving completely different emotions, but there is like this therapeutic core behind the protagonists, and what you had mentioned of the team building element is also in play for sure.
And you have the super angry guy who learns lessons and grows and becomes a more central authority figure in Roy, Kent, and Richie.
This is the sort of storyline, though, I am on board for, where a character can come on and into this team dynamic and expect better of that team and try to push it to that. It's why I like an episode or a show like Remember the Titans movie.
Mm-hmm. Great movie. Yeah,
I think that's a great example of what I like in terms of storytelling. And so watching season 3 and 4 feel like steps backwards was extremely frustrating, not to mention that the pace was ambling. And you could have fast forwarded from season 3, the very beginning of season 3, all the way to the season 3 finale, and you're missing like 5 minutes of plot worthy development in that time. There's too much filler and too slow of pace. And going back to Succession, sure, this is a show that also takes its time and takes its pace and is more character driven, like The Bear is, but things happen. They do push the plot along, even if the plot can be boiled down to something simple of Logan Roy, the dad, having this this plan that he doesn't care about anyone else about it, and he's going to do this business thing. And then one of the kids tries to usurp him in that and show that they're fit to run the company eventually. And then they get bamboozled, and then one of the other kids jockeys for position into a new spot. Like every single episode is essentially some version of that. But yet it still moves the plot forward and still moves the characters forward, even if they have a little bit of arrested development. The Bear needs to take a page out of some of these more plot-dependent prestige television shows and say, let's continue to move the story and focus on our characters.
No, I agree.
Thanks for coming to my Ted Lasso talk.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for The Bear, seasons 3 and 4. I will keep watching it when it comes on. I don't know if Brian will watch season 5 and 6 or whatever. Just see how it ends.
I'll watch it. I just won't rewatch, but I'll watch because then we also need to finish this out on the podcast.
Yeah. If forever rewatches, I'm completely fine watching seasons 1 and 2 again, because seasons 1 and 2 are fantastic. I love them. I could see myself watching those 2 again, but season 3 and 4 are a little harder to get through. So
yeah. So should we jump into trivia?
Let's do it.
So last week we talked about Survivor Vanuatu season 9, and we asked what contestant dated Jeff Probst, and that was Julie.
Oh, Julie.
Yeah.
Did I make that joke last week?
You did.
Oh, man.
I know that because I just edited that episode earlier today.
And who says I don't reuse jokes? No one says that. Everyone knows
he says that.
Okay. So we talked a lot about the character Computer, and he is actually portrayed by Brian Koppelman, who is a writer first and foremost. Before this was his on-screen appearance as Computer. So connecting him and the late Rob Reiner, Brian Koppelman wrote a movie that Rob Reiner's father was in. What was that movie?
Rob Reiner's father was.
Yep.
It doesn't. Okay, he doesn't seem old enough to have directed a movie with Rob Reiner's father.
Not directed, written.
Well, that too doesn't seem. Anyway, you got me stumped.
All right. Well, stay tuned next time to hear what that is. And Brian, what do we got on the docket for next episode?
So next time we are going to be diving into the love lives of some of our favorite couples, with diving into the big will they won't they relationships of the past however many years of TV.
Yep. And it's going to be Valentine's month. We're kicking off Valentine's month with that, and then we're also talking about our favorite couple. Not our favorite couple, but we're going to talk about an episode of Black Mirror with two amazing people who are in love, and we're going to see how that goes. I won't say any more about it because I don't want to ruin it for Brian.
Yep.
All right, well, enjoy the rest of January. Enjoy watching the Bears in the Super Bowl as they win and bring home the championship. It'll be fantastic. Until next time, I'm Matt.
I'm Brian.
And we're reminding you to stay tuned and keep watching.